Welcome friends, a very happy morning, happy afternoon, happy evening based on what time you're watching this lecture. Friends, I hope and pray that you guys are doing very well with your health and staying very happy. Friends, now let us discuss our next chapter, time of supply, again on the basis of our QR infographics, that is quick revision infographics, where we promise and deliver your coverage, 100% coverage of all your concepts, as well as this would be very helpful for your 100% revision before your exams. Now friends, when you talk about time of supply, as this infographics indicates, it will show you the time when you have to make the payment of tax. So time of supply is very crucial, because only on the basis of time of supply, your liability to pay tax is fixed. Liability to pay tax on supply shall arise only at the time of supply. So only when you fix time of supply, friends, you will know that what is your due date of payment of tax and what is your due date of filing of return for that transaction. So supposing there is a transaction, and that transaction is having various events, for few of which is having on 1st of October and 1st of November, 1st of December. Maybe in 1st of October agreement is entered, 1st of November the goods are supplied and the invoice is given, 1st of December the payment is received, etc. These are various events. So you can talk about, say, contract, you can talk about, say, supply plus raising of invoice, and you can talk about, say, receipt of payment. Now assume that your time of supply happens to be this particular 1st of November. So when I talk about time of supply, only based on this date, that is 1st of November, your due date of payment of taxes as well as your due date of filing of return will be fixed. Mainly your due date of payment of taxes will be fixed, which means in a normal scenario where you're talking about a regular taxable person going for MRMP scheme, monthly return, monthly payment, when I tell that the time of supply, the moment I tell that the time of supply happens to be 1st of November, the moment I tell that the time of supply happens to be 1st of November, then immediately on the basis of that, your due date of payment will be decided. Immediately on the basis of that, time of supply is say 1st of November, immediately on the basis of that, your due date of payment of taxes, which is in this scenario, if I am talking about a regular taxable person and opting for MRMP scheme, it will be 20th of December. 20th of December. So based on your time of supply, your liability is fixed, that is due date of payment of taxes analyzed. So first of all, for any transaction, you have to find out time of supply. Only then you can find out the due date of payment of tax. Let it be any transaction. First find out what is the time of supply. Only on the basis of that you will be able to find your due date of payment of taxes. Now friends, again let us talk about the bird's eye view of this chapter. Now understand the time of supply for goods is given in section 12 and for service it is given in section 13. So for goods you will find the provisions in section 12 and for services you will find the provision in section 13. Right. You have to categorize your time of supply basically into 5 points, 5 categories. The other points are some special points, 5 categories. Time of supply will be for your forward charge mechanism. It will be for your reverse charge mechanism. For voucher supply it is separately there, for residual cases it is separately there, and for interest or late fees or penalty, whatever you call on delayed payment of consideration, it is there. Right. So you are talking about time of supply is split into 5 parts. Time of supply for FCM, time of supply for RCM, time of supply for voucher, time of supply for residual cases, and time of supply in case of interest or late fees or penalty, whatever you name it, for delayed payment of the consideration. Now friends, as it is already discussed, for goods it is discussed in section 12. So for goods it is discussed in section 12 subsection 2, for FCM section 12 subsection 3, RCM section 12 subsection 4, voucher supply section 12 subsection 5, time of supply for residual cases section 12 subsection 6, time of supply for interest or late fees or penalty, whatever name you call, in case of delayed payment of consideration. And just like that, for services, time of supply for FCM section 13.2, time of supply for RCM section 13.3, time of supply for your voucher supply section 13 subsection 4, time of supply for residual cases section 13 subsection 5, and time of supply in case of interest or penalty or late fees, whatever you name call, in case of delayed payment of consideration. So you find the provision discussed in 2 parts. When you talk about your Goods, it is discussed in section 12. When you talk about your services, it is discussed in section 13. About goods in section 12 and about services in section 13. So, categorization is into 5 parts and the provisions are split into your 5 parts. I mean, subsections are split into 5 parts. Categorization 5 parts, provisions are 2, section 12 and section 13, 12 for goods and 13 for services. So, you have to remember FCM, RCM, voucher supply, residual cases and other cases. Now, there are certain special points as well. When you talk about real estate sector, which is only purely service sector, you will not find that in goods. Time of supply for real estate sector is very special, which is discussed in terms of section 148 read along with notification 6/2019 CT rate. Now, there is no corresponding point in goods because real estate sector you are talking only about services. Real estate sector you are talking only about your services. That is a special time of supply in terms of section 148 read along with your notification 6/2019 CT rate. And when you talk about change in rate of tax, time of supply in case of change in rate of tax, where the rate of tax is changing from say 5 to 12 or 12 to 5 or 18 to 28 or 28 to 18, etc., etc. In that scenario, time of supply is discussed for goods as well as for services in section 14. Now friends, these are two special cases that we can discuss later. Now, the primary cases are 5. Time of supply in case of FCM, in case of RCM, in case of voucher supply, in case of residual cases, in case of interest, late fees, etc., etc., for delayed payment of consideration. Understand that the first two parts, FCM and RCM, they have got a different formula. They have got a different formula. It is different for goods and different for services. It is different for goods and it is different for services. It is different. But when you talk about voucher supply, residual cases, interest, time of supply, whether it is for goods or whether it is for services, the answer is the same. Time of supply in case of forward charge mechanism and reverse charge mechanism is separate answer for goods, separate answer for services. But when you talk about time of supply for your voucher supply or residual cases or interest for delayed payment of consideration, whether it is for goods or whether it is for services, answer is the same. So, that point you have to keep in mind. Now, let us start with your time of supply in case of forward charge mechanism, where we will be having detailed discussion. Time of supply in case of your forward charge mechanism. So, you will find this infographics, forward charge mechanism. Now, for goods it is discussed in section 12, subsection 2. For services it is discussed in section 13, subsection 2. So, you are talking about time of supply in case of forward charge mechanism. Now, friends, we are going to discuss separately for goods and separately for services. Let us first focus on your goods sector. Time of supply only for your goods. Now, here you have to understand that the answer is different for a regular taxable person and the answer is different for a composition taxable person. You have different answer for regular taxable person and you have different answer for composition taxable person. But our focus is initially only and only on your goods. So, we are focusing only and only on your goods. Goods in case of regular scheme, goods in case of composition scheme. Now, friends, when you are talking about goods in case of regular scheme, there is a notification. So, you are reading section 12 subsection 2, which is time of supply for goods in case of forward charge mechanism, read along with notification 66/2017 CT. And if you are talking about time of supply in case of forward charge mechanism for goods, for a composition taxable person, you are only reading section 12 subsection 2, there is no relaxation. Time of supply goods plus the time of supply for goods, forward charge mechanism plus regular taxable person means there is a relaxation. Which category? You are talking about time of supply in case of FCM. So, be very clear that you are talking about forward charge mechanism. You are talking about what? You are talking about goods, time of supply and forward charge mechanism for goods plus it is for a regular taxable person means there is a relaxation. So, always remember that when you are talking about time of supply in case of forward charge mechanism, when you are talking about time of supply in case of forward charge mechanism, when is this relaxation notification number 66/2017 applicable? When you are talking about time of supply in case of forward charge mechanism, which we are discussing, if it is for goods and it is for a regular taxable person, then you have this kind of relaxation. If it is for goods and you are talking about regular taxable person, you have this relaxation notification 66/2017 CT, where you are not going to see the payment. Now, let us see the formula now. Now, you have to answer a very simple question, whether you have raised the invoice in time. What is the due date for raising invoice? We'll discuss. But first you have to answer a very simple point, whether invoice is raised within time. Section 31, the due date given in section 31. If invoice is raised in time, answer is actual date of invoice. Your answer is actual date of issuance of invoice. If invoice is not raised within the due date as given in section 31, we'll see what is section 31 later. If invoice is not raised in time, then the answer is if invoice is not raised in time as per section 31, then the answer is due date of issuance of invoice. Due date of issuance of invoice. So friends, when you talk about time of supply for goods under forward charge mechanism, where you are talking about a regular taxable person, you are only talking about whether if invoice is raised in time, actual date of invoice. If invoice is not raised in time, due date of issuance of invoice. Now, if at all I tell that you are talking about goods and you are talking about composition taxable person, you are not talking about regular taxable person, you are talking about a person who has gone for composition scheme, section 10. Then again you have to ask whether invoice is raised in time. If invoice is raised in time, then the answer is actual date of invoice or the date of receipt of payment, whichever is earlier. And if I tell invoice is not raised in time, here payment also comes into picture. Invoice is not issued within the due date, not raised in time as per section 31. Then it is due date of invoice, there's an extra point here, or date of receipt of payment, whichever is earlier. And friends, you may ask what is meant by payment. Payment is nothing but your payment in your books of accounts or payment in the bank statement, which was earlier. So payment here means it is earlier of payment entry in books of accounts or credit in bank statement, which was earlier. So payment in books or payment in bank, whichever is earlier. Payment always means payment in books or payment in bank, whichever is earlier. Now you may tell that okay, there is a small difference. We have understood partially that okay, if you are talking about goods plus forward charge mechanism, if it is regular taxable person, then invoice raised in time, actual date of invoice. Not raised in time, due date of invoice. Forget about payment. Here you don't take into account payment. In the regular taxable person, you don't take into account payment. Payment itself you ignore it totally. But for composition taxable person, if invoice is raised in time, it is actual date of invoice or date of receipt of payment, which was earlier. If invoice is not raised in time, due date of invoice or date of receipt of payment, which was earlier. And friends, as already discussed, what is meant by your payment? It is payment in books or payment in bank, whichever is earlier. Now friends, you may tell that okay, we know that the answer is so and so, but how to find out, how to decide whether invoice is raised in time or not? Whether or not invoice is raised in time is decided by due date of invoice, is decided by your due date of invoice, Now what is the due date of invoice? What is the due date for raising the invoice for goods? Due date for raising the invoice for goods. Again, normal scenario, you have to raise the invoice. Normal scenario is what? Where there is movement of goods, supply of goods along with movement of goods. Where there is movement of goods also. You are supplying the goods, also movement is there. Normally when you are supplying the goods, if I am selling anything, obviously you are going to take that. So where the supply of goods with movement of goods, then the due date of invoice is before or at the time of removal. Before removal or at the time of removal, I should have raised the invoice. Now in a scenario where there is supply of goods but does not involve movement, which means I am supplying you goods, I have sold you the goods, but the goods are not, you are not taking the goods are still with me. You will be taking it later. Or supposing I am selling this entire studio to you, right, along with the premises. Now these studios contains all the equipments, etc, etc. So I am selling the system, the tab, the lights, etc, etc. I am selling this, all these furnitures also. There is supply of goods, but there is no movement of goods. You will come and occupy here. So here I am selling you all my equipments. Let it be the camera or the system or the desktop, or the laptop or the tables or the lightings, etc. I am selling you that. But you are not taking it because you are going to come and occupy the same premises. So there is supply of all these goods but without movement. In that scenario, invoice should be raised before or at the time of delivery, constructed delivery, which means before I hand it over to you, I should have raised the invoice. Before I tell that okay, I am leaving this premises, you can come and enter this premises along with all the goods. We are not talking about premises. Premises is immovable property, no GST. We are talking about the movable items, all these equipments, all these furnitures. Then there is sale of all these furnitures and equipments, but there is no movement. So I should raise the invoice for these furnitures and equipments before handing over to you, before delivering over to you, before constructively giving it to you. So you are going to come and occupy. You are not going to take it anywhere. You are going to come and occupy. So this is also possible in rare cases before or at the time of delivery. So supply, where supply is there but is not involving movement. Invoice I should raise because the goods are not going to move. Invoice I should raise on or before delivery of the goods, constructive delivery of goods, on or before handing over the goods to you. Now friends, if I tell that the goods are removed on sale on approval basis. So if I am sending you the goods but it is on approval basis. So we are talking about sale on approval basis. I am selling you the goods but it is on approval basis. You may approve or you may reject, the goods will come back. Friends, in that scenario, the due date of invoice is earlier of actual supply, which means I should have supplied to you. Actual supply means you have accepted it, or 6 months from the date of removal, whichever is earlier. Now acceptance or rejection should happen within 6 months. If it is not happening within 6 months, it is deemed to be supplied. I repeat, when I am sending you the goods on approval basis, you should either accept or deny it. You should either accept or reject it within 6 months. If you reject it within 6 months, the goods will come back to me, there is no supply. But if you accept within 6 months, there is actual supply, GST will be paid then. But if you don't do anything, you neither accept nor reject within 6 months. Then it is deemed to be accepted. Why? You have to raise the invoice on completion of before 6 months of removal. Otherwise, it is deemed to be supplied. You have to raise the invoice. And friends, if at all it is a continuous supply of goods, that's one more scenario. If it is a continuous supply of goods. Now, what is continuous supply of goods? Where you are giving the goods on continuous basis or regular basis, where the supply of goods is on continuous or recurrent basis under a contract, and payment will be received on periodical basis. So I will be getting the payment on periodical basis as per the contract. So I am going to keep on supplying the goods. Supposing I am supplying the goods to Reliance Jio for laying the cables for telecommunication lines. Now I am the supplier of cables. I am the supplier of wires, cables. Now I'll keep supplying the cables to Reliance Jio. I will not be raising invoice for each supply. So today Jio will tell that for this particular area we required say 10,000 meters of the cables. I will send 10,000 meters of the cables. Tomorrow they will tell that we require 15,000 meters of cable at this place. So I will keep supplying the cables. I will have a track, but I will not be raising invoice every time. Jio will not like to raise invoice every now and then. I will be sending the cables to the site of Reliance Jio, but it will not like that I raise the invoice again and again. Now, as per the agreement between me and Reliance, I am going to supply the cables on continuous or recurrent basis under a contract, where I am going to get the payment on periodical or regular basis. So payment will be received on either periodical or regular basis. We would have agreed that once in 3 months, or once in 1 month, or once in 5 months, or once 20,000 meters is supplied, etc. Whatever agreement is between me and Reliance. Now in that scenario, your due date of invoice is before or at the time of issuance of successive statement or receipt of successive payment. So before, or which was earlier, before I give the successive statement, I will be giving the statement will be the invoice. I will be giving all the, supposing quarterly I am giving statement that these many meters of cable have been supplied. So I have to give along with the invoice. So whenever I am giving the statement to Jio, I should be along with invoice. Or whenever I receive, before giving the statement, if I am receiving the payment, extra payment, successive payment, I am telling that, see, I have sold you a lot of meters of cable, but it will take some time to prepare a statement, you release partial payment. So I get a part amount. So for that also I have to raise invoice before or the time of raising successive statement, issuing successive statement, or receipt of successive payment, whichever is, though earlier is not mentioned, it is understood that whichever is earlier is implied. Right. So this is the due date of invoice for goods. Friends, a very, very, very important point. Understand that first step number 1 is always finding out, always finding out due date of invoice. and thereafter only step number 2. Step number 2 is finding out time of supply. So when you're talking about whether it is goods or services, please go with these steps for forward charge mechanism. If it is forward charge mechanism, step number 1 is find out due date of invoice. Now friends, what we have discussed in a regular scenario, what are the due dates of invoice? How we have discussed? If at all you are talking about supply of goods where movement of goods is there, or supply of goods where movement of goods is not there, or sale on approval basis, or continuous supply of goods. These are the 4 scenarios that you may have. Now as supply of goods is there along with movement of goods is there, then your due date of invoice is on or before removal of the goods. If supply of goods is there but there is no movement of goods, due date of invoice is on or before constructive delivery. If sale on approval basis is there, then your due date of invoice, you should have raised the invoice. Your due date of invoice is actual supply, date of actual supply, earlier of date of actual supply, or 6 months from the date of removal, earlier, whichever is earlier. So there might be deemed supply if you don't, if the actual supply or rejection is not happening within 6 months. So 6 months is very important point. So it is earlier of date of actual supply, or 6 months from the date of removal, which is earlier. Now let us take an example. Supposing you have sent the goods on 1st of April. The goods are sent on approval basis on, sale on approval basis on 1st of April. Now there are 2 possibilities. Either it will be accepted or it will be rejected. Again, in that there are 2 possibilities. Either the acceptance may happen within 6 months or after 6 months. Within 6 months or after 6 months. Within 6 months, say we have taken the example of 1st of August. After 6 months, say we will take the example of 1st of December. 1st of December. This is after 6 months. This is within 6 months. So we are taking the example of within 6 months and after 6 months. Now, if acceptance is happening within 6 months, then your due date of invoice is 1st of August, actual supply, date of actual supply. And if acceptance is happening after 6 months, your due date of invoice is on completion of 6 months. 6 months are over on 1st of October. On 1st of October, 6 months are over. So it is 6 months from the date of removal. I have to raise invoice. Now, if rejection is happening within 6 months, then there is no supply. Because it has happened within 6 months, when there is no supply, there is no due date of invoice. But if rejection is happening after 6 months, then there is deemed supply. Which happens on 1st of October. So on 1st of October, I have to raise invoice, because 6 months from the date of removal is over. Neither it is accepted nor it is rejected, so it will be deemed supply. It will be deemed supply, a very important point here. So if you look at the scenario, if you are accepting it within 6 months, it is date of actual supply. If you are accepting this after 6 months, immediately on completion of 6 months, 6 months from the date of removal, it is supplied. And when actual supply happens, this is also deemed supply. On 1st of December, nothing will happen. Because already invoice is raised. So friends, again understand that if nothing is happening within 6 months, this also was a scenario of deemed supply. So this is also a scenario of deemed supply. Only thing is, it was treated as supply on 1st of October itself. On 1st of December, when actual supply is happening, Nothing will happen. Nothing, because already the invoice is raised. Now, friends, if rejection is happening within 6 months, it is rejection, then no supply, no case of due date of invoice. But if rejection is happening within after 6 months, first it is deemed supply. The moment anything happens after 6 months, first it is deemed supply. Now, when it is deemed supply, your due date of invoice is on 1st of October, 6 months from the date of removal, right? But what will happen on 1st of December then, when it is actually rejected? When it is actually rejected. Now, on 1st of December, the supplier has to give credit note. The supplier has to give credit note. Why? Already has raised the invoice. To cancel that invoice, already has raised the invoice on 1st of October. Now he has to give credit note. Now he has to give credit note. You may tell why there was no credit note here. Understand that in the first scenario, after 6 months, where acceptance was happening after 6 months, it was deemed supply on 1st of October. And when actual supply is happening, nothing is required, because you have already raised the invoice. But when deemed supply happens on the completion of 6 months, but it is a case of rejection. After 6 months, it is rejected. After 6 months, it is rejected. So, you are talking about now rejection. Rejection means you have to cancel the, finally there is no supply, but you have already treated as supply. Finally, there is no supply, but you have already treated as supply. So, deemed supply to actual supply need not do anything. Already invoices says nothing to do. But when you are talking about deemed supply to no supply, there is no supply because it is rejected. Therefore, to cancel the invoice effect, you have to raise credit note. So, that is all about your sale on accrual basis. Your sale on accrual basis, as discussed, when you talk about your sale on accrual basis, due date of invoices, actual supply, or 6 months from the date of removal, whichever is earlier. And we have seen the implication as well. What happens when you talk about continuous supply of goods? Continuous supply of goods means where the supply of goods is happening on continuous or recurrent basis under a contract, plus payment is agreed to be made on a periodical or regular basis. And that continuous supply of goods may happen through a pipeline or a conduct or a wire or a cable, etc. The goods may go through a pipeline or a conduct or a wire cable, that is not allowed. This is very common when you talk about supply of gases and petroleum products. So, this continuous supply is very common when you talk about supply of certain gases and certain chemicals, gases and liquid items, including petroleum products. So, in that scenario, your due date of invoice. See, in continuous supply of goods, you will not give invoice along with each supply. You will keep sending the goods, because the contract is telling that you have to keep sending the goods till the work at a particular site is over. You will keep sending the cables. I took an example where Reliance Jio is laying the cables underground, and I am supplier of cables. I'll keep supplying the cables. I'm not going to give invoice with every say 1000 meters or 2000 meters or 10,000 meters of cable. I'll keep sending it. I'll keep a track. Whenever I give successive statement, date of issuance of successive statement, or date of receipt of successive payment. Whenever I give a statement, that will be along with the invoice, or before giving the statement, if I receive the successive payment, I have to give the invoice, due date of invoice. That is step number 1. And friends, step number 2 is finding out your time of supply. So, after finding out due date of invoice, only you have to find out time of supply. Before that, please do not find it out. Why? Because your time of supply in case of forward charge mechanism is based on your due date of invoice. Now, how you have to segregate? The answer is separate for a regular taxable person, and the answer is separate for a composition taxable person, isn't it? For a regular taxable person also, you have to split that into 2. What is invoice is raised in time, invoice is not raised in time. For a composition taxable person also, invoice is raised in time, invoice is not raised in time. Now, when you talk about regular taxable person and invoice is raised in time, time of supply is actual date of invoice. When you talk about regular taxable person but invoice is not raised in time, you have seen the due date of invoice, you know what is the last date to raise the invoice, and you see the actual date of invoice. You see that invoice is raised after the due date. When I tell invoice is raised in time, it means invoice is raised before the due date of invoice that we have discussed in step number 1. When I tell invoice is not raised in time, it means invoice is raised after the due date of invoice that we have discussed in step number 1. In the second scenario, where invoice is not raised in time, time of supply is due date of invoice. So whenever I tell invoice is raised in time, it means actual date of invoice, your actual date of invoice is before due date of invoice. And whenever I tell invoice is not raised in time, it means that actual date of invoice is after your due date of invoice, right? So that you have to understand. Now friends, if I tell you're talking about a composition scheme, a composition taxable person, right, then that scenario, if invoice is raised in time, time of supply is equal to actual date of invoice or date of receipt of payment, whichever is earlier. And if I talk about composition taxable person, where invoice is not raised in time, invoice is not raised in time means actual date of invoice is after due date of invoice, as in step number 1. Time of supply is equal to due date of invoice or date of receipt of payment, whichever is earlier. Now that is how you have to find out your time of supply. Whether or not friends the question is asking about due date of invoice, step number 1 is always due date of invoice. If the question is about forward charge mechanism, whether goods or services, first step is always due date of invoice. The second step friends happens to be your time of supply. So first step is always due date of invoice, second step is time of supply. And it depends, your due date of invoice where supply of goods involves movement of goods, then on or before removal. Supply of goods does not involves movement of goods, due date of invoice is on or before delivery. Sale on approval basis, date of actual supply or 6 months from the date of removal, whichever is earlier. Continuous supply of goods, issuance of successive statement or receipt of successive payment, though it is not mentioned but it is implied, whichever is earlier. That is step number 1. And thereafter friends, you find out your time of supply. Now when you are finding out time of supply, you have to ask whether it is for a regular taxable person, then invoice raised in time, actual date of invoice. Invoice not raised in time, due date of invoice. If it is for composition taxable person, invoice raised in time, actual date of invoice or date of receipt of payment, which was earlier. If it is composition taxable person, invoice not raised in time, your time of supply is due date of invoice or date of receipt of payment, which was earlier. And an important note here, whenever I am talking about receipt of payment, it is receipt of payment in books or bank statement, whichever is earlier. So wherever I am talking about date of receipt of payment here, it is date of receipt of payment in books or bank, whichever is earlier. Now just to complete this and to give you a small example, a very small example, let us assume that you are talking about goods, and let us assume that it is a case of forward charge mechanism. And let us assume that your supply of goods involves removal of goods, movement of goods. There is supply of goods which involves say movement of goods, So question will be like this, they will give you that date of removal of goods, right, actual date of invoice, date of receipt of payment, Now say date of removal of goods is given as say 1st of October, actual date of invoice is given as say 5th of October, date of receipt of payment is given as say in installment, one is 1st of September, one is 1st of November, which means the first installment, say the contract is for 5 lakhs, 1 lakh and 4 lakhs, So you are talking about installment, payment is received in installment, total amount was the total contract value was 5 lakhs, we are receiving that in installment, Now step number 1, you have to find, what is step number 1? Step number 1, you have to find out due date of invoice. Only step number 2 is finding out time of supply. Now step number 1, what is the due date of invoice? Where I have said that supply of goods involves movement of goods, your due date of invoice is on or before removal. of goods. So friends, your due date of invoice your due date of invoice is on or before removal of goods, which means here you will get as 1st of October. Now compare the due date of invoice 1st of October with actual date of invoice 5th of October. Whether invoice is raised in time. Whether invoice is raised in time. You will clearly find that invoice is not raised in time. Why? You should have raised the invoice on 1st of October, but you have raised the invoice on 5th of October. If invoice is not raised in time, friends, then the time of supply. If at all. Now, I have not given whether I am talking about a regular taxable person or a composition taxable person. Friends, if I am talking about a regular taxable person, then I am not going to see the date of receipt of payment. For a regular taxable person, if invoice is raised in time, actual date of invoice. If invoice is not raised in time, due date of invoice. In this scenario, invoice is not raised in time. So, for regular taxable person, your time of supply is due date of invoice. Answer is over. Friends, if I am talking about composition taxable person, because for regular taxable person, friends, what was the formula? If invoice is not raised in time, then what was the answer? The time of supply is equal to due date of invoice. But if we are talking about composition taxable person, if invoice is not raised in time, time of supply is due date of issuance of invoice or date of receipt of payment, whichever is earlier. Friends, here I am not talking about payment in books and payment in bank. If at all it was payment in books and payment in bank, it would have been whichever is earlier. I am talking about installments. Payment is received in installments. Now, for a composition taxable person, you have to split this into two questions. Understand, wherever payment is important and you get the payment in installment, you treat it as a two separate questions. Wherever payment is important and you get the payment in installments. Here, friends, you have received the payment in installment, 1st of September and 1st of November. So, you treat it as two separate questions. So, you work it out separately for 1 lakh, you work it out separately for 4 lakhs. For 1 lakh, what is the due date of invoice? For composition taxable person, the answer is due date of invoice. Why due date of invoice? Invoice is not raised in time. So, due date of invoice is 1st of October, or when the payment is received, 1 lakh, 1st of September. Which is earlier? 1st of September. For 4 lakhs, again due date of invoice is same, 1st of October, or when you have received the payment of 4 lakhs, 1st of November. Which is earlier? 1st of October. So, friends, whenever you talk about FCM where you get the payment in installment, this is a very important point. The moment you get the payment in installments, please treat it as two separate questions. Now, why did we not do it for regular taxable person? Because when you are talking about regular taxable person, the formula was simple, due date of invoice. Payment was not at all important. But friends, when you are talking about your composition taxable person, time of supply is due date of issuance of invoice, because invoice is not raised in time, or date of receipt of payment, which was earlier. So, whenever you talk about payment being relevant, receipt of payment being relevant, and you find that in the question payment is received in installments, please treat them as two separate questions. So, what I did for composition taxable person, I split that question for 1 lakh separately, for 4 lakh separately. Again, it is very clear that invoice was not raised in time. Why? The due date for invoice was 1st of October, but invoice is raised in 5th of October. So, when invoice is not raised in time, what is the formula? Due date of invoice, which is 1st of October, or receipt of payment 1 lakh, 1st of September. Which is earlier? 1st of September. Likewise, for 4 lakhs, due date of invoice 1st of October, or date of receipt of payment. One is 4 lakh receipt, 1st of November. So, which is earlier? Earlier is 1st of October. So, that is how you have to work out, and the same thing will be used, very helpful even for your services. Friends, we are done with your time of supply for forward charge mechanism for goods, whether it is a regular taxable person or composition taxable person. Also, we have seen the step number 1, due date of invoice. Now, we have to see the other part. Now, we have to focus on your Your focus on your services. Friends, when you focus on your services, the moment you start focusing on your services, whether it is regular taxable person, whether you are talking about regular taxable person or whether you are talking about composition taxable person, whether the focus is on regular taxable person, this is actually for regular taxable person, or whether the focus is on composition taxable person, the answer is the same. The answer is the same. There is no relaxation here. So answer remains the same. If I tell invoice is issued in time, if I tell invoice is issued in time, then the answer is actual date of invoice or date of receipt of payment, whichever is earlier. Actual date of invoice or date of receipt of payment, whichever is earlier. And we have already discussed date of receipt of payment is equal to payment in books or payment in bank, whichever is earlier. If at all you are given the dates, two separate dates, say it's the same amount, 1 lakh is received in books in so and so date and in bank in so and so date, whichever is earlier. You are not talking about installments. You are talking about the same payment 1 lakh accounted in books on a different date and recorded in bank in a different date, then whichever is earlier. If I tell invoice is not issued in time, then a very important point here, the focus is not on your due date of invoice, the focus is on date of provision of service. A very important point, date of provision of service or date of receipt of payment, which was earlier. So here please make sure that when invoice is not raised in time, here you are not focusing on due date of invoice. You will be finding out due date of invoice, but you are not, the answer is not that. For the first step you will be finding out due date of invoice, but the answer here is date of provision of service. Friends, if you compare it with goods, if invoice was not raised in time, the focus was on due date of invoice, but here the focus is on date of provision of service. A very important point. Now why I am telling this, even for finding out time of supply for services, step number 1 will be due date of invoice. You will be having some due date of invoice, but if invoice is not raised in time, answer time of supply will never be due date of invoice, it will be date of provision of services or date of receipt of payment, whichever is earlier, whether you are talking about a regular taxable person or you are talking about a composition taxable person, the answer is the same. The answer remains the same. The beauty of services is it does not differentiate regular taxable person, composition taxable person. Unlike goods where the answer is different for regular taxable person where you don't take into account payment, composition taxable person you take into account even payment. But for services, whether you are a regular taxable person or a composition taxable person, answer is exactly the same. Invoice raised in time, actual date of invoice, date of receipt of payment, which was earlier. Invoice not raised in time, answer is date of provision of service. Please focus, it is date of provision of service, not the due date of invoice. Date of provision of service or receipt of, or date of receipt of payment, which was earlier. And whenever I talk about receipt of payment, it is receipt in books or bank statement, whichever is earlier. Now again here for services also, step number 1, as we have discussed there, step number 1 again here is nothing but finding out due date of invoice. So even here step number 1, your step number 1 will be first to find out your due date of invoice. First you are focusing on your due date of invoice for service, right? Now normal scenario, what is the due date of invoice? For services they give some breathing time, to raise the invoice. Now for due date of invoice for services, normal case it is 30 days from the date of supply. So unlike goods, for goods they don't give any breathing time. Normal scenario is where supply of goods is there, with movement of goods you have to raise invoice then and there, before or at the time of removal. But for services they give some breathing time, they give some extra time. They know that it is intangible, they give some extra time. It is not like goods. For services they give some breathing time. Normally the breathing time is 30 days. The moment you complete the service, you have 30 days time to raise the invoice. If it is banking sector and insurance sector, banking sector, banks, financial institution, non-banking financial company and insurance sector, then that 30 days is replaced by 45 days from the date of completion of service. Supply date means date of completion of service, right? So normal scenario, breathing time, extra time given is 30 days from the date of completion of services or date of supply. For banking sector, insurance sector, it is 45 days from the date of completion of service or date of supply. Now if I am talking about a special scenario where supply is ceasing before completion, where you have entered into a contract, supposing I have entered into a contract for designing a hotel for which I am charging 1 crore, but I have designed only say 50% of the hotel rooms and they are not satisfied with my services, therefore they cancel or terminate the contract. They cancel or terminate the contract. Now that cancellation or termination happens in between. Supposing I started my work on say 1st of April and I was to do the work for say another 2 years, but immediately within 5 months or say 6 months, 1st of October, they are not satisfied and they cancel my contract, cessation of contract or termination of contract. Now in such a scenario, I have to raise the invoice immediately on termination. So on 1st of October, for whatever work I have done, I have agreed for 1 crore, but I am not going to charge 1 crore because I have not done the entire thing. I have done only the partial thing. So to the extent of what supply I have made, I have to raise the invoice. To the extent of what supply I have made, I have to raise the invoice. I repeat the example. Supposing it is a case where I have promised to complete the interior decoration of a hotel, which is over a period of 2 years. The work started on 1st of April, say 2021. Within a span of 6 months, on 1st of October 2021, they are terminating or cancelling my contract, cessation of contract or termination of contract. They are not satisfied. When I have entered into a contract, I have said that I am going to charge 1 crore. Now they are not satisfied and they are terminating the contract. Say on that termination, I have done say 30% of the work. Now they tell normally for services there is a breathing time to raise invoice, but here there is cessationship of contract or termination of contract. Immediately on 1st of October 2021, immediately my due date of invoice will be 1st of October 2021, not for entire 1 crore, it will be say 30% of 1 crore. It will be only for 30 lakhs. Normally for service sector, after I complete the work, 30 days time is given. Here breathing time of 30 days is not given. The moment my contract terminates in between, the moment my contract terminates or cessationship of contract means cancellation of contract, I have to raise the invoice immediately. Immediately I have to raise the invoice. No breathing time of 30 days. Immediately. It terminated on 1st of October. Immediately I have to raise the invoice, but not for the entire amount. I am not going to raise the invoice of 1 crore. I am going to raise it for, if I have completed 30% of the work, I will raise it for 30%. So that is an important point. So normally I get a breathing time of 30 days. Banking sector, insurance sector, 45 days after the completion of work. But if the work cancels in between, there's no breathing time. Immediately on termination or cessationship of contract, I have to raise the invoice, but not for the entire amount, only for the proportionate amount of the work that I have done, to the extent of supply that I have done. And friends, the last special scenario where you are talking about 3 sectors: banking, insurance sector, banking sector, that is bank, financial institution, non-banking financial company, and telecom sector. 3 sectors: insurance, banking plus extra sector. Here there is one more sector here. Telecom is a different sector, so it is highlighted, telecom sector. In such a cases where there is supply between distinct persons, between the branches, between their own branches, between the branches of the same bank, between the branches of the same insurance company, between the branches of the same telecom sector. Distinct person means same company, 2 branches having 2 different GSC number, between the branches having 2 separate GSC number. So we are talking about banking, insurance and telecom sector. Supply not between banks and customers, not between insurance and customers, not between telecom sector and customers. Supply between their own branches, deemed supply. Supply between their own branches, distinct persons, branches having separate GSC number. They tell that okay, as it is an internal supply, internal deemed supply, they tell the time and due date of invoices, recording the transaction in books of accounts, or by the end of quarter. You can raise the invoice for this deemed supply. You can raise the invoice when you are recording the transaction in your books of accounts, or by the end of the quarter. So supposing this transaction happened in July, so the end of the quarter is September, 30th of September. Supposing this transaction happened in November, end of the quarter is 31st of December. Supposing this transaction happened in the month of March, end of the quarter is 31st of March. 31st of March. So quarterly basis, end of the quarter, you have to raise the invoice. I repeat friends, this is not between bank and customers. You are not talking about a scenario where you are talking about bank and customers, or insurance company and customers, or telecom sector and customers. You are talking about distinct persons. You are talking about one branch of bank to another branch of bank, or one branch of insurance company to another branch of the same insurance company, or one branch of telecom sector to another branch of the same telecom company, where friends it is a deemed supply. Distinct persons means you are talking about deemed supply. It's not actual supply, it is deemed supply. There they tell that okay, as it is internal, we'll give some time. Whenever you record the transaction, raise the invoice, or at least by the end of the quarter. End of the quarter means calendar quarter, which is 30th of June if the transaction is happening from April to June, 30th of September if the transaction is happening between July and September, 31st of December if the transaction is happening between October and December, and 31st of March if the transaction is happening between Jan and March. So that is the point here. Now what is the due date of invoice, friends? Here normal case 30 days, insurance and banking sector to customers. Here friends, when I am talking about this particular point, it is bank to customers, it is insurance to customers. So here friends, you are talking about actual supply. You will find banks and insurance twice. Telecom sector is only once, but you will find banks and insurance twice. So here when I am talking about actual supply, banks to customers, bank insurance company to customers, 45 days. Now what if we are talking about telecom customers, telecom sector to customers? Again it is actual supply, but it will be 30 days. For telecom sector you will get 30 days. You will get 30 days. So telecom sector along with others is covered. So actual by telecom sector to customers 30 days. Bank to customers, insurance to customers 45 days. But when you talk about banks, insurance and telecom sector to their own branches of the same company, then it is recording the transaction books of accounts or end of the quarter, whichever is earlier, though it is not mentioned, it is implied. It is implied. Now what if I am talking about continuous supply of services? Friends, if it is continuous supply of services, what is meant by continuous supply of services? It is very similar to continuous supply of goods, but with a special point. Supply of services on a continuous or recurrent basis under a contract, and where the payment is agreed to be made on periodic or regular basis, but the period of the contract should be more than 3 months. The period of the contract should be more than 3 months. You are going to supply that services for a period more than 3 months. So supply of services on continuous basis or recurrent basis under a contract, where the payment is agreed to be made on periodic or regular basis. Important point which was not there for goods. Continuous supply of goods. Here the contract should be for a period more than 3 months. At least that continuous supply happens for a period more than 3 months. So here there is a condition. For goods there is no such condition of 3 months. Here there is a condition. For it to be continuous supply of services, it should be more than 3 months. Now what is the due date of invoice for continuous supply of services? If at all, the due date of payment is ascertainable. If you see the contract and you can find out the due date of payment, then due date of such payment is the time when you have to raise the invoice. If payment is linked to completion of an event, then on the completion of such event you have to raise the invoice. If you don't know the due date of payment, but you know that on 10% of the completion of work you are going to raise the invoice, on the next 30% you are going to raise the invoice, then on completion of such event you should raise the invoice. But if it's nothing is ascertainable, neither due date of payment is mentioned in the contract, nor payment is linked with completion of an event, then the due date of invoice is date of receipt of payment. Date of receipt of payment. Now let us understand this with the help of an example first. Then we will summarize even your services transaction. Now what are they trying to tell? They are telling that when you are talking about, if at all you are talking about say continuous supply of services, the focus is on continuous supply of services. Now if at all in a contract it is agreed that payment will be made on quarterly basis, payment on quarterly basis every quarter, so the due date of payment is ascertainable. In this scenario it is very clear that the due date of payment is ascertainable. Then the due date of invoice is that quarterly basis means by end of the quarter. So due date of invoice, supposing this first quarter ends on say 30th of June, second quarter ends on say 30th of September, etc, etc. So due date of invoice for the first quarter will be 30th of June, and for the second quarter will be 30th of September, etc, etc, if the due date of payment is ascertainable. Now friends, there may be a scenario where there is no due date of payment in the contract, but payment is linked on completion of an event, and it is said in the contract for every completion of 20%, you will be raising the invoice. Now, payment is linked to an event. For every completion of 20%, you will be raising the invoice. Now, the due date of invoice, assume that the first 20% completion happens on 5th of August and second 20% completion happens on 5th of December. 5th of December. Then the due date of invoice will be the date of such completion. 5th of August for the first 20%, 5th of December for the second 20%, and so on. Right. If nothing is there, if nothing is ascertainable from contract, if nothing is ascertainable from the contract, nothing is ascertainable from the contract, nothing is there, then they tell, okay, let us not complicate it further. In that scenario, due date of invoice will be date when you receive the payment. As and when you get the payment, you go for it. As and when you get the payment, you go for the same. Right. Now, friends, here also, even when you are talking about your services, again, we are talking about forward charge mechanism only, forward charge mechanism services. Again, be very clear that there are two steps. Be very clear that there are two steps. Step number 1 will always be due date of invoice. Step number 2 will be time of supply. Step number 1 will always be due date of invoice. Now, when you talk about due date of invoice, it is categorized into here 5 parts. Due date of invoice, general case scenario, including telecom sector. Special scenario, banks and insurance, but to customers. Then you are talking about cessationship of contract, termination of contract. Then you are talking about banks plus insurance plus telecom sector, deemed supply, distinct persons, not to customers, deemed supply. Finally, you are talking about continuous supply of services. If it is general scenario, your due date of invoice is 30 days from the date of completion of service. If it is banking and insurance sector, to customers, you are not talking about deemed supply, actual supply, to customers, due date of invoice is 45 days from the date of completion of service or completion of the supply. If it is cessationship of contract, your due date of invoice is immediately on termination or cessationship of that contract, immediately, no breathing time. If it is banking sector, insurance sector plus including telecom sector, special sector, and you are talking about distinct persons, branches of the same company, deemed supply, then your due date of invoice is recording in books of accounts or end of the quarter, though it is not mentioned which was earlier, it is implied, whichever is earlier. Continuous supply of services. Payment, due date of payment is given in the contract. You have 3 parts. For continuous supply of services, you do have 3 parts. Due date of payment is there, payment is linked to an event, other cases. If due date of payment is there, due date of invoice is equal to due date of payment. If due date of payment is there in the contract, your invoice should be raised on or before that due date of payment. If the payment is linked to an event, your due date of invoice is on the completion of such event, that percentage example. If nothing is there, your due date of invoice is actual date of receipt of payment. Right, that is step number 1. Then friends, step number 2. Now step number 2 is the same, whether you talk about regular taxable person or composition taxable person, it is the same. It is not like goods, it is the same. You have to just ask whether invoice is raised in time or whether invoice is not raised in time. Invoice raised in time means your actual date of invoice is before your due date of invoice. Invoice not raised in time means your actual date of invoice is after your step number 1, due date of invoice. In such a scenario, if invoice is raised in time, time of supply is equal to earlier of actual date of invoice or date of receipt of payment. If invoice is not raised in time as per step number 1, then time of supply will be earlier of Now very important point, earlier of what? Earlier of not due date of invoice, earlier of date of completion of service or date of receipt of payment. So this point, date of completion of service is very crucial. It is not date of due date of invoice, it is date of completion of service or provision of service. Right, this is how you have to find out. Right, step number 1 is always your due date of invoice, even for services under forward charge mechanism. Step number 2 is time of supply. Step number 2 is your time of supply, and we have discussed what are the answers for two separate things. Now let us take an example and wind this up. Assume in a scenario where you're talking about, again you're talking about services for your forward charge mechanism, where you're talking about general case, which means general case means normal service. 30 days is the time limit, right? Normal case you're talking about. So let us assume that the date of completion of service is given, actual date of issuance of invoice is given, date of receipt of payment is given. Now date of completion of service, let us assume that it is 1st of October. Actual date of issuance of invoice, let us assume that it is raised on 10th of December. Date of receipt of payment, again it is received in installments. 1 lakh is received and 4 lakh is received. Supposing the contract was for 5 lakhs. So you are receiving the payment in installment. It is not payment in bank and payment books, you are receiving it in installment. Right, installments, which means you have to work out multiple times. 1 lakh was received on 1st of September and 4 lakhs is received on say 31st of December. 31st of December. Now step number 1 is to find out whether or not question is asking find out due date of invoice. Step number 2 is time of supply. Now what is the due date of invoice? Due date of invoice in this case is date of completion of service plus 30 days. So when the service is completed 1st of October plus 30 days. So your due date of invoice, friends, is 31st of October. Service was completed on 1st of October. You are adding 30 days. Your due date of invoice is 31st of October. 31st of October. Now compare this with your actual date of invoice. Now it is very clear that invoice is not raised in time. Invoice is not raised in time. Why? Your due date of invoice is 31st of October, but you have raised the invoice on 10th of say 10th of December. Right? Even if it is 10th of November, it is not raised in time. Now when invoice is not raised in time, whether you are talking about regular taxable person or composition taxable person, answer will remain the same. What is the answer if invoice is not raised in time? If I tell invoice is not raised in time, what is the answer? Answer is time of supply is, it is not the due date of invoice, it is date of completion of service. It is date of completion of service or date of receipt of payment, whichever is earlier. So here you are not focusing on due date of invoice, though you have due date of invoice calculated, you are not focusing on that. So what will be the answer here? You will find out answer separately for 1 lakh because payment is received in installment, separately for 4 lakhs. What is the date of completion of service? Date of completion of service is 1st of October. You are not going with 31st of October, friends, you are going with 1st of October or first 1 lakh is received on 1st of September. Now balance 4 lakhs. Again date of completion of service is 1st of October or 4 lakhs is received on 31st of December, whichever is earlier. So in the first scenario, the answer will be 1st of September. That is date of completion of service 1st of October or date of receipt of payment 1 lakh 1st of September. Answer is 1st of September. And in the second scenario, date of completion of service 1st of October or date of receipt of 4 lakhs, which is on 31st of December. So the answer will be that. So you have to understand that. First find out due date of invoice. And with the moment you find out due date of invoice, compare it with the actual date of invoice and find whether invoice is raised in time or not. And friends, if invoice is not raised in time, step number 2 is time of supply. For services, if invoice is not raised in time, it is date of completion of service, not due date of invoice. Though you have that, it is date of completion of service or date of receipt of payment which was earlier. And friends, if you receive the payment in 2 installments, calculate it twice, work it out twice. For 1 lakh, date of completion of service 1st October or date of receipt of payment 1st September which was earlier, 1st September. For 4 lakhs, date of completion of service 1st of October or date of receipt of payment 31st of December which was earlier, it is 1st of October, that is earlier. That is all about this example as well. Now friends, a very small point or minute point is left out, and which is basically applicable for services. Basically this exception, there is an exception that we have not discussed. Exception in time of supply which is basically applicable for services. Now that exception tells that for petty advances, petty advances means up to 1000 rupees. For petty advances which is received along with previous payment, which is along with the previous invoice, which you have received along with the previous invoice payment, at the option of the supplier, you can take time of supply as actual date of invoice, which means you are ignoring advance date of receipt of payment. You can forget about date of receipt of payment. I repeat, for petty advances, small advances, basically this exception is applicable for services only, because only in case of services you give importance to date of receipt of payment. For petty advances which is up to 1000 rupees, where you are getting that advance along with previous invoice payment, that is not normal invoice payment, previous invoice payment. If you want, that is an option, you can ignore date of receipt of payment and you can take the time of supply as actual date of invoice. Now let us try to understand that. Now for May 2022, that is a invoice raised by the telecommunication company, and we are talking about say June 2022. Now the invoice raised by the telecommunication company is 5000, or let us say 1000 plus GST at 18%, 180. So total is 1180 including GST, right? And obviously for June also it will be the same, 1000 plus GST 180. Same every month it will be, you have to pay 1000 rupees your net payment bill plus GST 180. Now when you went to make the payment, when you actually went and make the payment, you paid 1200, and that person said that we don't have change, can we adjust this 20 rupees? When you went for payment for the first month bill, you paid how much? Payment which was made was 1200. Now they said that when you are talking about 1200, let us adjust this 20 rupees for the next billing. They will tell that okay, we don't have change, let us adjust this for the next billing, and you said yes. Now understand that there is no issue for May 2022 bill. May 2022 time of supply, assuming that invoice is raised first, is equal to actual date of invoice, and because you have made the payment after invoice is raised, it is implied that you have made the payment after invoice was there first, then followed by payment, so you are going with actual date of invoice. But when you are talking about June 2022, there is an issue. If you look carefully, you have paid 20 rupees in advance. This is nothing but advance payment for June month. Now they tell that this advance payment tracking will be very difficult in these kind of payments, because it is a petty advance. Two conditions are satisfied. It is a petty advance and it is paid along with previous invoice. When we are making the payment of May 2022, you have paid that petty advance, right? Both the conditions are satisfied. They tell that you can ignore this petty advance. Ignore this petty advance, and your time of supply will be actual date of invoice, ignoring this petty advance. ignoring this petty advance of 20, because next time when you are going to make the payment, friends, you have to pay 1180, but next time what you will do, you will pay 1180 minus 20 rupees you have already paid, you will take change and go 1160 you will pay. So they are telling that let us avoid that complications, because it will cause a lot of problem in creating the software. So they tell that okay, this is a very small advance, very small advance, up to 1000 rupees, and it is paid, is not normally paid, it is paid along with the previous billing. So when you went for making the payment of May 2022, you have paid extra. You have not made normal advance payment, it is a special advance payment. You paid this advance along with the previous month billing. Therefore, you can ignore this advance. And for June month, you need not segregate 20 rupees separately and 1160 separately. For June month, again, your time of supply will be actual date of invoice. Ignore the petty advance payment. Forget about that petty advance payment of 20 rupees. That is what they are trying to tell. Right. But a very important point. This is for a special advance. There are two conditions for special advance. Why I am calling it as special petty advance? It is special petty advance. One, petty advance means it is less than 1000 rupees. Second, it is paid along with previous invoice payment. When you are making the previous payment, you are paying along with it. Now, if I change this example and try to confuse you. If I tell, for taking our classes VJ, PJ education, right, you are making the payment of, say, you are booking the seats, you are making the payment of, say, rupees 1000 rupees token amount. You are making this payment in the month of April month, and the classes are actually going to be conducted in the month of, say, July. Classes are going to be conducted in the month of July. When the classes fees is informed, you have 10,000 which is there, you have already paid 1000 rupees, so you are going to pay balance 9000. So this 1000 rupees was only an advance payment that you have made, and the classes actually are conducted in the month of July. Now here also it is an advance up to 1000 rupees, but here time of supply will be different. Time of supply for this 1000 will be time of supply for this 1000. Now assume that invoice is raised only when the classes is being raised. Invoice will be done only in month of July, only when the classes are conducted. Now here time of supply for 1000 rupees will be, if you work out, it will be date of receipt of advance payment. So time of supply will be April month for this 1000 rupees. And assuming that after I raise the invoice in July, you are going to pick the balance 9000 payment. So time of supply for balance 9000 will be July month. So here this is petty advance, but it is not special petty advance. This is small advance, but it is not small special advance. You are breaking it up. Unlike the previous example where you are not breaking 20 rupees and 1160, here you are breaking up 10,000 into 2. You are breaking up 10,000 into 2. 1000 rupees, the time of supply is April. Why? You are talking about time of supply is actual date of invoice or date of receipt of payment, whichever is earlier. And receipt of payment is earlier. So advance invoice is not yet raised. April. Now, when you are talking about the next part of invoice, then your invoice is actually raised. Time of supply for that 9000. Again, for that 9000 is again you are going to go with the same formula. Actual date of invoice or date of receipt of payment, which was earlier, and both happened in the month of July. Both invoice was raised in the month of July as well as payment of 9000 happened in the month of July. So for 9000 answer will be July month. For 9000 answer will be July month. Right. So here this is not a special petty advance. It is a normal petty advance. For normal petty advance, you are going to go normally. You are going to split it. You are going to split it. Only for special petty advances, you are going to ignore the advance amount. You have ignored that 20 rupees because it was a special petty advance. It was up to 1000 plus, it was along with the previous invoice payment. Here, when you are paying the advance, it is a normal advance payment. There is no previous invoice and all. So that you have to understand. And friends, this completes our entire discussion about time of supply under forward charge mechanism, whether it is for goods or whether it is for services. This left out portion is what we have discussed now with the help of examples. So whether it is goods or services, we have completed entire thing about your forward charge mechanism, whether goods or whether services. There are two steps. First step is due date of invoice, second step is time of supply. So only for forward charge mechanism, whether goods or services, formula is different, but step number 1 is find out due date of invoice, and then step number 2 is find out time of supply. Even if the question is not asking about due date of invoice, if the question is about FCM, whether goods or services, first always find out due date of invoice.